Hi everyone. Hope you are gradually finding interest in all these online sessions. So far we have completed two sessions. The first session was meant for understanding basic concepts of management. There were 6 video clips in support of that content. The second session is all about to know professional manager and tasks in general, management thinkers, management thought, and its evaluation in gradual different stages. So all these were discussed in another set of 7 video clips. There were pictures, diagrams, flow charts to understand especially various thoughts of management thinkers and their ideas to explain what is management all about as per their practice in their respective organizations. So with that, successfully we have completed the first 2 sessions, and coming to the third session, it was scheduled to know managers in tourism industry. For that, we need to know tourism industry environment, right? And how is tourism industry in India especially, right? So then when you look at the tourism industry, since it is a service industry, as a kind of backdrop, we need to understand service industry in general, right? So I just prepared this video clip to understand the service industry in general, and that will be followed by tourism industry. I think there are the 2 videos I plan to explain about tourism industry in India, right, as a business entity, how it is. Then I think the last part of this session 3, I kept it to discuss managers in tourism industry, how they are in terms of responsibilities, skills and competencies, right? Somewhat there are something professional specific characteristics. We'll understand all those at the end, right? Let us start. So this session, right? So the service industry in general. So if you look at the service industry in any economy in recent past is playing very important role, right? So to know about this service industry, I welcome you all with a hello, and in this session you will come to know that the service industry and its the background and its importance in any nation's economy. So all these are the features you will understand in coming slides. If you look at the service sector in Indian economy, right, unlike past, the service sector is a dominant contributor to Indians' GDP, because sometime back the service sector contribution was very less in nation's GDP, especially after 1991, when new economic policy was introduced with the 3 important principles: liberalization, globalization and privatizations. So with these principles, the economy completely expanded and became a platform for private firms to start their business activities, not only to operate within India, even across. In that context, so service industry found a fertile the soil and very conducive atmosphere to expand its wings across. If you look at the India's service sector, it covers a wide variety of activities such as the trade, tourism, hotels, restaurants, transport, storage and communications, financing, insurance, real estate, business services, community, social and then personal services, and then service associated with constructions. So all these are comes under service sector, right? So I have few statistics on this slide. If you just look at the table shows the three important sectors in GDP, right? So three sectors, one is the primary, secondary and the tertiary. The primary is, as you know, that it is agriculture and then allied sectors. The secondary is the manufacturing and industrial sectors. And third one is a tertiary, which is also called as a service sector. If you do the figures, India, US and then China, in these the countries. So if you see the figures, so 15.4% of agriculture sector is contributing in GDP. It is as per latest the statistics, and with 53% of employment. So the second figure shows the employment of that sector, how much employment is generated by that sector, right? So in India, agriculture sector contributes to GDP 15.4, employment is 53%. US 80% in GDP and 2% employment. China 7% contribution to GDP and 26% employment. So whereas the manufacturing sector, so 23% in India in GDP and 22% employment, and like that you can see US and then China. Let us look at the service sector. Service sector, now you can see that 61.5%. So that means now the major, the lion's share. Okay, but if you see the employment that is generated by the service sector, it is only 25%. When you just look at the US and then China, so there the service sector is 80% in US, but the employment that is the highest employment is generated in US by the service sector, that is 79%. And the China, it is something related to 46% employment, yet its contribution 52% to GDP. So these are some of the issues related to the service sector. When you see the service sector, right, as I was mentioning, the three sectors, primary, secondary, and then tertiary. So the pie diagram shows that its contributions, and then so in terms of the overall GDP in India, it is actually 5th rank in the world. So in terms of its contribution to GDP, and at the same time, the service sector that remains the engine for growth of Indian economy. So you'll find, so these are the merits of the service sector. So as I was mentioning earlier about the different segments of the service sector, here you can see the service sector, the classification. The service sector, you can see that all different the facets, starting from the trade, repairs, and then hotels, and then the restaurants, to the transportation, storage, communications and service related to the broadcasting, the financial services, real estate, so the public administrations, and below you can see that there the segments. So this way you can see the service sector under all these segments as a whole, it is a huge they contributed to GDP. Unlike past, it is actually the fast the growing, I can say that. Further, if you see that who are the key players of the service sector, so segment wise, you can see that the banking and then financial sectors, you can see there are so many, the private, Muthoot Finance, even Kotak and the HDFC, then State Bank, and like that there are many the banking the banking institutions, they are providing the excellent service to the public, right? That is a major segment in the society. So if you look at the telecom, you know that the brands, you can see that, so like Airtel, BSNL, right, MTNL, and then Reliance and Idea. Then healthcare sectors, Max and Fortis and Apollo and so on. IT and IT is the Infosys and the HCL and then Wipro and so on. And then the most important thing for us is the tourism and hospitality, and then aviation sector. In tourism sector, you have the Make My Trip, Taj and Yatra, then Mahindra, and then the Cox and Kings, Thomas Cook, SOTC. Right, there are many the multinational companies under this segment. When you look at the aviation sector in India, you can see these are the main players, right? The Jet Airways, Air India, SpiceJet, and Indigo. Okay, so you'll find there are so many small the segments like a TrueJet, right? And then Air Orisha. There are many small segments in India. They are operating at the aviation services. So these are the main players in the service industry. When you look at the aviation, now it is increasing the passengers and then percentage of the freight the traffics. The gradually that is increasing, and even the latest financial year 18 and 19, you can see that how we actually the flight service is increasing. Now if you just go to the airports, you will find now they are like bus stands, right? You will find people the floating and then taking the flights because of the low cost carriers. So sometimes the flight the cost is at par with the first class the train fare, and sometimes even the first class AC the fare is more than the certain sectors the flight service. In that way, you can see that how actually the flights are now they're becoming very accessible to anyone can access and then travel in the the flights. So in that way, you can see that this widening of this sector is actually giving the space for entire the boom of the service industry. So further, if you see that the tourism and then travel, so it is actually the most important segment as I was mentioning, and it has a kind of 9.4% the contribution to GDP. So you can see that nearly, so the 10% the contribution to GDP alone by the tourism industry. And if you see the even employment also in the total employment of India, so the 10% of employment is generated by tourism industry, right? And for every the 10 people so there is a one job from the tourism sector. So for every the 100, you will find 10 people from the tourism sector. In that way, you can see that it is actually the most important segment as far as the service sector is concerned. Of course, the details we will discuss in the next the presentations. So when you look at as a whole, right, the service sector is something very the contributing for its nation's GDP, unlike past, right? And gradually it is increasing, like developed countries like US or even the France or the Germany. In those countries, the service sector, the role and then contribution to the nation's economy is more than the other sectors. So in India also, the gradually you could see that the service sector role and the tourism is one important thing. But in the tourism sector, so you have the hospitality and the tourism both. When you combine its role in terms of providing employment, in terms of earning the foreign exchange, so that is actually very important. And then it is taking the most identity in the economy. So in that context, we can see sometimes there is a saying that we all know that IT and IT services is another major sector in the services. So there are some predictions in the future. The tourism and travel and hospitality, the sector being a service industry, it is going to compete with the service sector, IT industries in terms of its contribution to economy. In that much, the strength and the potential is there with the tourism and travel industry in service sector. So with this, let me stop here because we have many contents to understand in the coming video clips to understand the tourism industry in general. So with this, I think you understood what is the service industry, how the service industry is very, very important for economy, right? So let me stop here. Thank you very much, and let us meet in the the video the 15, right? Thank you.